my mission here is to like bring the practical side of this, because I feel like there's this tension in the narrative between the early adopter developer folks that are decentralist maxis and the people that are fighting for mass adoption because they realize that the technology can provide a lot of new opportunities in ways that it couldn't before.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting point. I mean, Chainalysis is in a interesting position in the ecosystem where that Bitcoin maximalist, the people that got really attracted to cryptocurrency primarily because they saw it as a way to upend the current financial system, remove intermediaries. I think very much reactionary to the failures of the '08 financial crisis and the harm that caused to so many people around the world. And I think core in that audience is this belief that kind of libertarian values meet very high privacy advocacy. And I'm actually on board with that. Like, I think privacy is a good thing. I just had, got one of those data breach notices in the mail. So yet again, for the, I don't know, at this point, the 100th time, my social security number has been stolen by someone on the dark web who is now selling it for a few cents, I guess. Uh, so I actually really like privacy. The point of conflict with that audience and worldview, though, is that privacy wins over all else. And I just can't get on board with that. Like, we get involved in some pretty horrendous criminal activity where there's a Bitcoin intersection point.
Mm-hmm.
One of the more famous stories, actually, there's a great book that just came out. I'll give him a plug, written by a guy named Andy Greenberg,
Hmm.
who's one of the staff writers at Wired. The new book is called Tracers in the Dark, and it covers the kind of 2014 to 2017, 2018 period of cryptocurrency and some of the more notorious takedowns. And so
Hmm.
he goes into extended detail on a case that the IRS CI kind of led the investigation on, called Welcome to Video.
Hmm.
And this was a child sexual abuse material website that was run out of Korea, uh, but the customers were all around the world, right? On the internet, there are no borders. And it was discovered, like, the way you gained access to this site was paying in cryptocurrency. And it was particularly nasty because in order to be a member, you not only consumed, you had to provide. So there was like just terrible, right?
Yeah,
And you look at something like that and you're like, you know what? I'll give up some privacy to stop that.
exactly.
And to me, that's inarguable. Like, there's no like position that I think a reasonable person can take where they say, well, Chainalysis shouldn't exist because yes, you were able to stop that, but privacy is more important. So therefore, your technology should not be in the world. Like, I just can't get on board with that. But the good thing that I would say about this narrative is, like, the number of people I think who hold that extreme worldview are actually an increasingly small part of the ecosystem you and I now both work in.
And I think there's the tension too of people wanting the privacy and the very nature of the blockchain. While it's not connected to personal information always, all of it is public.
Yeah,
I mean, if you go on Etherscan and you know what you're looking for, you can find it,
that's right.
right? You can
That's
find
right.
all these transactions, which is probably a lot of what Chainalysis does. They just do it better than everybody else. Um, but it's like when people make that argument, you're kind of that's always where I point them. It's like, well, you're actually putting all of your activity out there. I think the more sophisticated argument is what happens when determining what someone does and the quality of their actions has nothing to do with their personal information. It just has to do with the transactions that they took a part in,
Yeah.
right? And then that gets into a much bigger use case for this space.